this point, I think we're days away from them announcing a film about that little wind-up thing from the first Conjuring film. You look in the mirror and see behind you. Any day now, right after Annabelle 6, that's getting released. What do we do today? I'm glad you asked. What's up, guys? It's Pieman. And oh boy, it's unbelievable how quickly this has turned into a quite large franchise. It's happened as quickly as you could possibly do it at a rate of about a film a year since the first Conjuring film was released. It's crazy. In case you don't know, The Conjuring was released in 2013. It was a horror movie about Ed and Lorraine Warren. It was their real life paranormal people, hunters. But they, you know, their cases that are exhibited in these films are based on what they say is the true story. So you're, you know, several layers removed from the truth, potentially. Let's, you know, I don't want to say whether ghosts are real or not, but yeah. And since the first film was released, this whole thing has really become quite the Conjuring universe. Conjuring-verse. Converse? No. We've got The Conjuring, okay? And then we've got The Conjuring 2. But we've also got 3 Annabelle films, which are all spin-offs of the first Conjuring, well, both Conjuring films, I suppose. And then we've also got The Nun, which is a Conjuring 2 spin-off. Dear Lord. It's very confusing, but basically today we're going to go through and 1-minute review all of those 6 films, okay? I was going to wait until The Conjuring 3 came out later this year, but who even knows if that's going to be this year at this point, so I'll just do all these ones now, okay? Sometimes during modern horror movies, I just get tired. I'm just exhausted already. I'm already tired of the horror genre because of how many crazily lazy modern horror films there are. Some of them just, they're not even vaguely trying. They're still shining beacons of hope, you know, things like Get Out or The Invisible Man, but those are such different types of horror films to what the common style is, which in the past decade has been this kind of demonic thing. So The Conjuring is exactly what you expect modern horrors to be about, but it's not, it doesn't work the same way. James Wan decided he was going to go with the flow and then show everybody what they were missing about this kind of film. This really was James Wan at his best. It's spinning new yarn from old wool. Does that analogy make sense? I don't know, I don't knit. Here's my 1-minute review for The Conjuring. So, I love it. That's all there is to say. I love Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as the Warrens, and I love the whole family in this. The 5 daughters thing really was an advantage, even though, you know, normally you wouldn't see something like that. A bunch of just one, you know, just boys or girls in this big family. It's an unusual kind of setting for one of these horror movies, which is why it worked so well, probably. I don't quite know how to explain it, I'll talk about it more later, but there's a calm, collected kind of style, which I think is because there's so many characters in the house, you know, they're all together, which is a different feel of horror movie, and it kind of makes it happier. It makes it definitely a fun horror movie. I don't know how that term really works, but it is. That's what it is. I'm giving this 87 out of 100. It just works on every level. That kind of, the casualness of it just adds to the fearful moments that come later. Then they thought it would be a good idea to make a film all about Annabelle, because if ghosts are a played out subgenre of horror that could use a James Wan facelift, then surely creepy dolls are even more so, right? Sure, but it was only produced by James Wan. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of ways that they could make an Annabelle movie. We didn't know too much about her past, besides what we saw of like the girls in the apartment talking to the Warrens. So instead of doing anything with those 2 girls, they decided to do an origin story that's not really an origin story, which is about how the doll was involved in, I mean, the Manson murders, right? Anyway, here's my 1-minute review for Annabelle.
Who are you?
So this is garbage. It's really pretty poor without ever quite sinking into Jesus turn it off territory. I never really despised what was happening, but I wasn't really enjoying it either. In contrast with The Conjuring, if you want to do a versus, it just feels awful because it's such a average run-of-the-mill modern horror in a way that The Conjuring managed to avoid being. You know, the point of The Conjuring was to not be that, to not be what this is. The doll is evil, the guy thinks the girl's crazy for thinking the doll is evil. Guess who tells her more about all this supernatural stuff? It's an elderly priest. Wonderful. The acting isn't great, the story is worse, and the jump scares are just... they're the basic, you know, they're the crutch that holds the horror movie up from being just total garbage, you know? That's what it is. I'm giving this 55 out of 100. It's not the worst horror movie about, certainly not, but it's just an average run-of-the-mill whatever one. And we just keep on rolling. Flipping back to the actual Conjuring side of things, James Wan decided to take Ed and Lorraine to the other side of the Atlantic for one of the Warrens' most notable cases outside of Amityville. More than most of the Warrens' cases, the Enfield haunting is definitely, you know, pretty much verified as a hoax, but that is addressed quite a lot in the movie. You know, it's kind of like, oh, the girls were pretending some of the stuff, but not all of it. So anyway, here is my 1 minute review for The Conjuring 2. Yeah, it doesn't match up, no, but on the bright side, there was a lot of room between the first Conjuring film and bad. So this is somewhere in the middle, okay? And it's definitely above the first Annabelle. Let's just put that right out there. It felt a little less calm and collected than the first one, but it did still have that sense of that. And I think that part of that's just because you've got these unique characters. The Warrens are used to this kind of stuff. So they're coming in here and they really connect with the people in the house, try to calm them down, try to help them, as opposed to just get the spirit out of here. They're not working against the spirit, they're working with and for the family, you know? Yeah, it was a step down from the quality of the first film, but it's still like, it's still very good, I think. It's still a very good one. And yes, maybe there are other cases that would have worked better, but I mean, this is a well-known one, which was good to use, and it was different, you know? It was different to the first one, which is probably quite important. Anyway, I'm giving this 74 out of 100. It's the second best entry in the franchise to date. The Conjuring films are the best ones. I'll just put that out there right now. And let's flip again to Annabelle, this time for an origin story. I know, you thought the first one was an origin story, but this is more of a further back origin. It's the origin of the origin story. Yeah, it connects to the first Annabelle. Not really to the Conjuring. Okay. Anyway, here's my 1 minute review for Annabelle Creation. Okay, so there's a nice little family. Man makes dolls. What's that? He made the Annabelle doll, so you know this is the actual origin. And his daughter's dead. Okay, cool. Let's advance 10, 12 years or so, and the wife is bedridden. Now they're inviting a bunch of little girls to come stay in their house. Who does that? It's nice and all, but I mean, he knew the Annabelle doll was there and that there was something weird about it. So pretty irresponsible, really. So, cool, there's nothing going on. Oh, wait, what? There's definitely a lot of stuff going to go very wrong. Annabelle's going to possess the little girl, and she's going to turn evil, and then she's going to try and kill all her friends, and it's going to be terrifying. Yeah, little disabled girl. And then she gets more disabled, and then she gets possessed. God, what a rough time for her, huh? It's still not on the level of the Conjuring films, but in general, people seem to like this one a lot more. It is better, certainly, than the first Annabelle film. No doubt in my mind about that. And little girl, it's part of that, you know. Little girls as the star of a horror film when they're acting well, that can work. And that did work here. It was a good idea. Anyway, I'm giving this one 64 out of 100. It is a good movie, not a great one, but definitely more than I hoped for from an origin to Annabelle. Dear Lord, are we finished? Not even close. The fun thing about the Conjuring movies being set in the past to begin with is that you've got to go even further back to some fun, weird times and places to do origins for them. So when they decided to do an origin for the nun in The Conjuring 2, that's right, every fucking Conjuring film gets its own spin-off, they had to go to 1950s Romania. I mean, I've been to Romania, and it's not that interesting. You know what else isn't that interesting? Films where all of the characters are priests and nuns. Here's my 1 minute review for The Nun. got a priest who hunts these kinds of things. I think so. And he goes to Romania in the 1950s. And then he teams up with this initiate nun, who's played by that girl from the first few seasons of American Horror Story. How fun. And they go to a convent, and most people are dead. And then they stop it and leave. I suppose it was well done considering that they chose such a boring setting and such boring characters. Here's my thing, I can't give it extra marks because they chose the boring setting and those boring characters. So they put themselves in this situation where it's kind of hard to make this film that interesting at all. It definitely didn't have anything of the Conjuring films. It just kind of happened. You know, honestly, I didn't really hate it, but I feel like it was so totally unnecessary. I'm giving this 58 out of 100. That might be a little bit kind, but I do feel like it beats the first Annabelle. For our most recent entry in the franchise, we have to go back to Annabelle again. But only kind of. It's more like Conjuring 2.5, you know? It's like saying that Civil War is a Captain America movie, but Iron Man's in it. You know? Because this is an Annabelle movie, but the Warrens are in it. Like, heavily-ish. It takes place entirely in the home of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they're in it a fair amount. It's more than a cameo. But they've sneakily recast their daughter as McKenna Grace because that's a child actor with some star power. What? This film is about what if, after being locked away in the Warren house, Annabelle got out. Which is also what happened for about 10 minutes in the first Conjuring film. But just ignore that. This is my 1 minute review for Annabelle Comes Home. I wish Madison Eisman was my babysitter and could fight off my demons. So, it's got the girl from the Jumanji films and the little girl who looks an awful lot like Sabrina, and that's fun because, once again, they've kind of learned by this stage, I think, children fighting Annabelle. Good. This does actually, I felt, have that kind of unique brand of calm and collected and just nice that the Conjuring films have, even though, as I was complaining about earlier, most horror films like this one are just about, like, survival. Madison Eisman is basically Samara Weaving in The Babysitter, but without all the murder. So she's just this nice, perfect person. She's just the perfect person. I like the characters, and I like how this was done. I enjoyed it. It was kind of a nice horror film, you know? Which is not a term that'll ever make sense, but that's what I feel about it, you know? It's not, like, great, but it's definitely my favourite of the Annabelle films, and my favourite non-Conjuring Conjuring film. I'm giving this 68 out of 100. It gives me hope for the future of the Annabelle films because, let's face it, they're probably not done. How have they got more Annabelle films than Conjuring films? My god. And that's all we've got for today. Oh, wait a second. Is that the cheeky, not at all copyrighted, secret 1 minute review buzzer? What? That's right, as if 2 Conjuring films, 3 Annabelle films, and a Nun movie weren't bad enough. They've also got this kind of in the universe now. There is a 7th movie in the franchise. It is, unfortunately, The Curse of Ouija. Because James Wan produced it, and then they snuck in Tony Amendola to reprise his role as the priest to explain stuff from the first Annabelle movie. And then he referenced the first Annabelle movie. So... Shit. Here's my 1 minute review for The Curse of Ouija.
The Curse of La Llorona.
It's unfortunate that they added this just sneakily to this franchise listing because it's really going to bring down the average score. What can I say? It's everything the Conjuring movies stand against in the realm of demonic horror films. It is unbearably lazy and completely nonsensical. They didn't try to do anything unique, different, interesting with this movie. They just went, yeah, let's put Tony Amendola in it and he can talk about Annabelle, so it's a Conjuring movie and people will go see it. Linda Cardellini isn't like a bad lead. I quite like her in general, but she had nothing to work with here. And the other lead was the demon hunter ghost guy, and he was everything, and I mean everything, that the Warrens are good but bad. It's actually worse than the first Annabelle, which is depressing. I'm giving this 43 out of 100. Just boring, shitty, lazy, without being disgustingly bad. Okay, now that's all we've got for this video. I just finished rewatching the Fast and Furious movies, guys, and that's been requested a lot in the comments, so that's probably what I'll do next for a 1 minute review ranking video, but let me know what you would like to see next in the comments below. My official ranking for the Conjuring series is The Curse of Ouija at the bottom, if you want to count it. I would prefer not to. Then Annabelle, The Nun, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, The Conjuring 2, and The Conjuring, the original, the first in the series right at the top. Which is a pretty common thing. I'm pretty hopeful still for what The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It will bring to this franchise, but until then, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and leave your video ideas in the comments below.